and we are live. Hello, we've got two guest speakers today at our Paris and Baz cast. Welcome, Oliver and Luke Bailey. How are you guys?
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me back again.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great the last time that you were here talking about the renovations, which was very well received. And now we've got you this time talking about joint venture developments. Exciting.
Yeah, with the man himself, Mr. Luke Bailey.
There you go. So do you want to just kick off with a little bit of background about yourselves and what exactly this joint venture development is all about?
Yeah, I'm Oliver Jackson from Living Property. I started off with the buy, renovate and hold strategy for a lot of my clients and myself.
Yeah.
We kind of started collaborating with Luke, who's moved towards more of the development side of things. Because it's, as we'll discover, good cash to be made.
Yeah, there you go. And this is more of a entry-level developments. What's the size you would say?
Luke?
Yeah, so you're very much right. They are entry-level developments. We're talking about 1 into 2, 1 into 3, 1 into 4 subdivision and build. So very much available to a lot of people. I mean, if you can afford, I guess, an investment property, you're pretty much around the mark in terms of how much cash is needed to do one of these small developments.
Perfect. So if you want to just kick off with your background as well, Luke, we haven't had you on, so I'd love to know a little bit more about your business as well.
Yeah, it's great to be on. So my business started off as a buyer's agency, and then I guess it evolved more into small developments as I saw, I guess, a lot of people seeing, some of the developments that I was doing personally, and then asking me, okay, can we sort of transition from the buy and hold investment into these small developments? So I guess it more or less moved from just buying investment properties through to doing these small developments. And that's predominantly what my business is now, just doing small development projects here in Adelaide. So it's going well. And I'm just finding a growing need for people wanting to get into joint ventures, which is great.
Yeah. So, Oliver, you were saying about, say, for example, if you've got a buyer that only has cash, but tell me about that scenario again. How does that combination work?
We join people together. So a lot of people, when they go to do a development, don't have everything. So if you find someone that's got the cash available to put into the development, and then another person who can hold the loan, and then us who can run the projects, it's like a collaboration of people. So one person doesn't have to have everything, because a lot of people either have cash, but they can't get the loan, or they have the loan and they don't have the cash.
Yeah.
Together we can all come together and everyone is happy.
Works together. I think that's definitely, because when you think about barriers to entry for these kind of investments, it is having all those ducks lined up. So if you can avoid that and sort of diversify the risk as well, I think that makes sense. So how long has that been happening, and how did you find the need to sort of collaborate together for the investors? What's the background there?
So me and Luke have known each other for a couple of years. We both, buyers agents together.
Yeah.
Luke's like the wealth of knowledge in the development space. And I seem to have a lot of clients who want to get involved in development. And in Melbourne, it's, you need $1, $2, $3, $4 million. So in the Adelaide market, it's a lot easier to do. And having Luke, he's the master at it. It was the ideal collaboration.
Mm-hmm. So an average price point for an entry level development is around that's the full project, correct? Not
around the $1 million mark, Luke?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can answer that. So the acquisition site is anywhere from, when I talk about acquisition site, that's the land or initial purchase we're doing this development on. It's anywhere from around 300,000 through to about 600 would be the initial site. But in total development costs, it really does depend on whether we're knocking it down and building 2 or 3. But pretty much what Ollie said, it could be anywhere from $1 million through to about 1.5 would be the total cost. That's construction costs, subdivisions, all your stamp duty, and also that initial land purchase as well. So considering, I guess, Melbourne and Sydney prices, it's a lot more affordable for the average person.
Yeah, and an average deal, for example, what's sort of the return on investment for an individual? Say, for example, if it is two parties that have come together, they've purchased a property, and the acquisition cost is around the 600 to 800, then they're going to build 2 to 4 properties, and then what's sort of the end result? I mean, I'm sure it would vary, but roughly speaking, what's sort of the percentage of return?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's a couple of ways to look at it. And from a profit on cost, I mean, a lot of people, when they're doing developments, they look at what is the profit on cost. So an example would be if the total cost is $1 million, we look for a minimum of about 15% through to about 20% profit on cost. So in that scenario, if the total development cost was $1 million, we're looking for about 150 to 200,000 in that situation. If you're looking at a per annum return, it's a little bit different and hard to just give you a number because it depends on how much someone's going to borrow as well. So if getting a normal investment property loan, you know, it may only require $200,000 of funds to actually do a development, and you could make, you know, 150 to 200,000. So your per annum return on cost could be, you know, 75% per annum, which when you look at it's good as, you know, quite good returns.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how do you, when you guys collaborate, who manages what happens in the collaboration?
I kind of manage the client's expectations, finances, make sure Luke's doing his job.
Yeah.
Luke's the project manager. He runs all the projects. We've got another partner, Nathan, who works with Luke at Fortier. He is a client acquisition of properties and also selling agent as well. So we've kind of got it all covered. We all have our roles. I try to look after the customers the best that I possibly can and just liaise with everyone. Yeah.
So basically the exit strategy is either you sell it once it's redeveloped, or you hold on to it and then you sell it in the future. You're offering both sort of options and then partnering with agents to do that?
Yeah, predominantly spot on. Most of the time it is selling on completion, but in some situations, clients may be looking to build that portfolio and maybe don't want to pay agent fees or GST or whatnot. And they're actually in the accumulation phase and they're wanting to maybe hold and refinance and pull some of the profits out. That's one situation, but generally it's the sell, and then we'll collaborate with, you know, other agents as well in the area.
Yeah, and you were saying that, you know, for someone who has no experience can do this as well. So like, what are the prerequisites? Is there a particular requirement, or anyone can take advantage?
Yeah, so essentially for a joint venture to work, there's, you know, 3 moving parts or 3 people that need to be involved. Or you could have more than one part, or you could have all 3 parts. So someone, going back to the question, someone with no experience, they may have never done a development or even never bought a property before. They may also not have any money whatsoever, but they may have a really good job, full-time job. They could come into the development and actually hold the debt as a debt partner. So that would be a way that someone can get involved with no experience and no money, essentially.
Okay. Okay. And in terms of how could the average property investor get into something like this? I'm just reading some of the questions. So basically, in terms of the requirements of people coming in, as we've already discussed, depending on what their what stage they're at, but is there anything else that determines, or what sort of legalities have to be covered to draw up agreements and whatnot? Like, how easy is it to be able to, you know, from the word go that yes, I'm interested, I'm ready to partner with you? What's the process? How long does that take? The next steps?
Yeah, so essentially, probably one of the first steps that anyone wanting to do a joint venture is to really work out whether it's for them and whether they actually connect with that person. You know, there's not always a connection when you are doing a joint venture, but that's super important because you're going through, I guess, a financial journey with everyone that's going to last for 12 months. So you want to really understand the personality of someone. So once you're comfortable with that person, and when you're getting into okay, I'm ready to go, you know, I've got either the money or I've got the borrowing capacity, and then it comes down to a formal agreement. So it would be a joint venture or development management agreement would then be signed by parties to then, you know, enter into that agreement, and then also really explain what everyone's role is. So there's no sort of conflict on who's doing what, whose role is what. So everything is, I guess, stated in that agreement and agreed before starting the project.
And what sort of costs are we looking at for this? What do they pay up front to form a joint venture? Yeah, so
with us, we've got all of our own agreements already drawn out by lawyers and whatnot. So it's really up to the client whether they want to essentially go down and get a second opinion to enter into the agreement. We've already went out and created all the but look, it can be, you know, if it was an independent agreement, it can be a couple of $1,000s to get a lawyer to sort of create something and do the sign it all up. But
so then it's ready to go. And then so an ideal time frame for the whole project, what would that be? Sort of 12 months, 24 months, or how does that all work?
Yeah, so typically for us, it's about 12 months from start to finish. Now, we say that with a bit of a grain of salt because it sometimes might be 13 or 14 months, or everything could go smooth. The client could have all their finances already in place, and it might take 11 months. And it also depends. I noticed like with COVID-19, approvals were taking a little bit longer with council because no one was working. So but typically 12 months,
12 months. And talking about COVID, what other changes have you had to make, or has that impacted the business at all?
No, not real. I mean, probably essentially just what I mentioned there with the approvals just taking a little longer because council, everyone's working from home, so things are just taking a lot longer in the system. In demolitions and things like that been dragging out, but in the scheme of things, we've felt, I know back in the Adelaide market, everything's going back to normal. Plenty of buyers back out there looking to buy properties as well. So we feel as normality is coming back.
Yeah. And what about in terms of the prices? Have you noticed a significant drop in prices? I mean, there's all this talk in media about how the market's going down. I haven't physically seen it go down that much, but what have you guys seen in your markets?
I haven't seen 30% that I've been hearing.
That's right.
I believe Adelaide's probably gone up a little bit, hasn't it, Luke?
With all the demand. Yeah. So you haven't seen much of a price drop at all. I mean, it's somewhat similar to what was happening before COVID as well.
Yeah, I haven't really seen a drop at all. I've seen a bit of a shift, like brand new construction. A lot of buyers out in the market now with brand new construction, and also character style homes. And we've found the demand as it really increased, but maybe post-war type properties, not so much. It's just a different type of buyer looking for the different types of things. So we certainly haven't seen a drop. Buyer sort of inquiries were dropping off, but certainly sense. So.
Just a bit of client management's kind of changed a little bit. People are getting a bit more concerned, obviously, about their jobs and about what's going to happen for resale and so on.
Yeah.
I've got to explain the whole, what's going on. No one really knows what's going to happen, but how the market's moving, so far so good. Managing everyone's expectations more.
Yeah, okay. And sort of give me an example of a typical site that would be attractive for the development purposes. Like, is there a criteria that you apply, that it's got to be a certain price, size? How do you determine an ideal site for investment, for development?
Yeah, so the initial pre-feasibility, I guess, in terms of the sites we're looking for, it really comes down to the town plan and what particular areas we're targeting. Without giving out specific areas of our of exactly where we're targeting, we have a couple of councils that we really like to do developments in, so we know what the minimum requirements are and what the council are looking for in that area. So typically, look, a round number would be at least 700 to 1,000 square metre blocks is what we're looking for. But in saying that, in some areas it could be down to about 600 square metres, just depending on the town plan and what you can actually get through. But typically that sweet spot for us is 700 to 1,100 square metre properties, where we can either keep that existing house and potentially renovate it and then build something in the backyard. Or if the house is in a condition where it just doesn't make sense to keep it, then it will be a knockdown and split and then build. So.
And do you also sort of in your feasibility take into account what's in demand in those particular, like for the end product, whether it is a renovated, what's going to be attracting a better premium? So how does that selection work?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't think of that when you're wanting to build something and wanting to construct something. Who's your end buyer? So who will buy this? And will it be an investor, a first home buyer? Will it be a downsizer? Will it be a retiree? So it's crucial to really know that before, instead of just building something and then just hoping that someone comes through. So the markets we typically focus on, it's very much the low end markets that a lot of first home buyers buy them, but we also have had investors and also downsizers as well, and retirees. So we're trying to tap into the large parts of the market of building some Taj Mahal and only finding that one.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's definitely a key part of the exit strategy of, whether you are being able to sell it at the end and whether that's going to attract that sort of demographic. And I guess you would also be looking at population growth and all of those things as well, of in that 12 months time ahead, what would happen?
Yeah, totally. That's, I mean, what forms, even before we start looking for sites, we're going through a lot of research and working what areas are going to be in demand, not just now, but in 12, 18, 24 months when these products are going to be finished. So we're wanting to look at, you know, where are vacancy rates tight, where is the supply dropping, so that we know that, you know, the end product's going to be in demand. So that's definitely key as well.
Yeah. And in terms of, say, for example, for those of our viewers that are listening and interested, once they get in touch with you, is there sort of like a wait time for you to find the ideal partner for them to go into a JV, or how does that part work?
Yeah, look,
that's an interesting question.
Yeah. So what have you got ready to go? So if I've got someone ready to, you know, they've got money, what's the next step?
How much they've got, what we've got available, and what we can find.
Okay. So it's all a process.
Yeah, it's a process.
Perfect. Is there anything else that I've missed, or any interesting stories that you want to share that you've seen recently, or any tips to avoid or be careful about?
Probably.
Really, I think, you know, whether someone's wanting to do a joint venture or not, if it's the first ever development project they've done, they should really team up with someone that's done a project before. I feel that, you know, going back when I got into developing years ago, when I did my first one, I didn't know a lot, and you learn as you go on, like years down the track. So I would say to anyone who's wanting to do a development, whether it's a joint venture or not, try and find someone that's done some before and team up with them. It's probably the best way undone.
Absolutely. And I guess one of the common things that we see happening in any sort of partnerships is sort of conflict management. I'm sure there's key words, or, you know, in part of the agreement, how to tackle that, or because that, you know, it's a long-term commitment, right? So 12 to 24 months with a partner that you're working on a professional level. There may be disputes and whatnot in the future as well. So how do you normally tackle those? It's a tricky one, but how do you normally tackle those?
Your legal documents have definitely got to be airtight. Make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
If you put something there, it could be a disaster. It's probably the most important thing, to be honest. Like, if you finish the site and then you can't sell it because everyone's arguing because there's a legal problem, you're in a bit of trouble. Yeah.
So you got to make sure you have that compliance with each other. All of the business partners are on the same page. Perfect. Any other final words before we finish off?
No, that's great. No, this has been a great chat. So hopefully some of your viewers have got something out of joint ventures, and if they're wanting to do one, happy to reach out and just have a basic phone call first and see how it goes.
Explain that further, of course. I'll be sharing your details in the post as well, so they'll be able to get in touch. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. And you'll see this all across the social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. It's got to go everywhere. share the word, hey?
Thanks for having us. It's been great.
No problem. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.